Hello and welcome, I'm Jimmy Mick. For those of you who don't know, in the pre-satellite TV era, there were 4 stations available in Australia. One of these was the ABC. What made this different from the other 3 main stations was that it received government funding, so no advert breaks, which is obviously a good thing, but it does mean that in a 30-minute time slot you need a 30-minute show. But that's a problem, because pretty much all the shows that they made, and all the shows that they imported, were actually 25 minutes long, presumably to make it easier to export them again to countries that had adverts. So, what do you do with the additional 5 minutes? This isn't really much of a problem for daytime TV or evening shows when your audience is primarily adults, because they'll change the channel when they want to see the shows they like. But kids will generally only change the channel once their show is finished. So if your cartoon started 5 minutes ago, you're going to struggle to get the afternoon kid audience in. So what can you fill the gap with? You take a kids' TV show designed to be in the mornings, and you put it on in the evenings. Specifically, 5 to 10 minute cartoons. Sometimes there would be 10 to 15, but generally you take these 5-minute cartoons and make something of them. It is amazing how much these animations got stuck in your head. Considering they had so little to work with, it really is a feat. So here's my top 5 5-minute animations from my childhood afternoons. Number 5. Bangers and Mash. Following the antics of a young pair of chimps living on an island filled with animals who act like humans, Bangers and Mash is actually pitched a lot younger than most of the other videos on this list. There's not really a lot to say about it, but the earworm quality of its theme song earns it a place here. It's actually sung by Chaz and Dave, and sticks in your head so badly that I couldn't help but give it a space. Number 4. Captain Pugwash. What could be more entertaining than a show about pirates? Well, a show about inept pirates, and of course their competent cabin boy. It's done in this sort of paper puppetry style and follows the crew of the Black Pig through their misadventures. Generally speaking, they can't do anything right unless the cabin boy is the one sorting it out for them. This show has become so ingrained in the culture over the years that a sort of weird urban legend is built up around the names of the characters. The urban legend states that all the characters except Pugwash have got names that are sexual metaphors, such as Master Bates and Seaman Staines and Roger the Cabin Boy. Let me clear this up right now. That's bollocks! The actual character names are Captain Pugwash, Master Mate, who is the first mate of the ship, Pirate Barnabas, Pirate Willie, and Tom the Cabin Boy. The charm of this show comes from the simplicity of the plots and the incompetence of the crew, with the exception of Tom. For example, in one episode, Cutthroat Jake decides to disguise his ship as a merchant ship, so that Pugwash, his arch enemy, will board the ship, and Jake and his men can defeat them and steal the Black Pig. Where it goes wrong is that the crew manage to get nothing done correctly, and with a bit of help from Tom, who sees through the whole ruse, they accidentally sink Cutthroat Jake's ship. It's a simple plot, but what makes it funny is how bad the pirates are at, well, being pirates. It's still a good show, and you should probably have a look at it if you can. Number 3. Banana Man. Banana Man is about a schoolboy called Eric, who turns into Banana Man to fight the evil villain General Blight, as well as his henchmen like Dr. Gloom and Auntie and the Weatherman. What's funny about this character is that while he has super strength, speed, toughness, all the things you would expect from a superhero, he seems to sacrifice all of his intelligence to get it, which is why he has an intelligent, sarcastic, talking crow as his sidekick. What's wonderful about this show is the sheer absurdity of it. It doesn't care that some of it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't care that it doesn't explain anything. It just revels in its 5-minute time slot. It doesn't matter that the police chief calls Eric despite not knowing that he's Banana Man, or that the television news anchor leans out the TV to point Eric where he needs to go. This show would probably have got the number 2 slot on my list, if not for one serious problem. At some point, the music and the background noise gets so loud you can't really hear what the guys are saying. Have a listen to this, and bear in mind I haven't tampered with the sound on it at all.
I can't move, Crow. There's a woman operating that crane, and I'm
I don't remember it being that bad on the TV, so it could be just the version that I've got of it, but I can't judge it on the assumption it's better in other versions. Still, it's simple, it's fun, it's very deserving of the number 3 slot. Number 2, Henry's Cat. Henry's cat is a fat, somewhat stupid animal. He gets these ideas to go and do something fun, generally encouraged by his friend Chris Rabbit. Things don't tend to work out for him, and he decides that really all he should be doing is eating and sleeping. This show is done in the storybook style, where one voice actor does the narration and plays all the characters. It's very common in the shows aimed at the very young audience. But what makes Henry's Cat different is it's actually pitched at a slightly older age bracket. Quite often you need to know that Henry's cat or his friends are doing something stupid in order to get any of the jokes.
At first he didn't know where he was, and at second he was sure he didn't know where he was. He immediately checked everything. Peanut butter sandwiches, inflatable life belt, sailor's hat, book on sailing, they were all in working order. All he had to do now was panic. But he thought he'd save that until after he'd eaten his peanut butter sandwiches.
Because of this, it's still enjoyed by adults and older children. This show actually has a bit of a cult following at the moment among students. Could say that's not very surprising given all he does is eat and sleep. Don't worry, I was a student myself recently, so I actually am still allowed to say that. But, yeah, it's still a good fun show. It's not laugh out loud funny, but it is amusing enough to keep you entertained. I really think it does deserve the number 2 slot. So that leaves us with the number 1 slot. But what can it be? Let me give you a hint. Somewhere in the dark and nasty regions, where nobody goes. Number 1, Trapdoor. Focusing on Burke, the overworked and underappreciated servant of the thing upstairs, as well as his 2 best friends, Boney the Skull and Drut the spidery-looking thing, Trapdoor is probably the most fun thing you can watch in 5 minutes. It's brilliant from top to bottom. The characters are really well done, with Burke being this kind of self-righteous, slightly over self-important character, Boney being a whining misery guts, and Drut being this hyperactive loon. The premise of this show revolves around a trapdoor in the central room downstairs, through which various horrible creatures come, sometimes because Burke's left the trapdoor open and sometimes of their own volition. Burke has to deal with all these horrible things and still keep the thing upstairs happy. One of the recurring creatures to come out from the trapdoor is Rog. He's also one of only a handful of creatures to come out of the trapdoor able to speak. Big, dumb, and friendly, he's the perfect sometimes addition to this show.
Hello, Boney. Let's go out and play.
Add to this the fact that it's claymation, but it's very rare to see a still shot. Even with the characters not moving, there's always something wriggling around in the background. And it doesn't ever suffer from that deformation issue that you got with shows like Morph that came out at the time. Put it all together and you've got one of the best animations ever made, and well deserving of its number 1 spot on this list. So that brings us to the end. I'm sorry this was quite a short one. I had intended to do a top 10 list, but it turned out most of the shows I remembered were actually 10 to 15 minutes long. And if I open that gateway, we start getting things like Danger Mouse. And really, I think these guys would have lost out. And they don't deserve to. If there's any show you think I've missed, leave a comment. If there's a show that you think didn't deserve its spot, leave a comment. But before I go, here's something to leave you with. I don't think I'm the only one who enjoyed watching Trapdoor. I think the guys at LucasArts actually watch this show a lot as well. At least the guys who made Grim Fandango. Have another look at Rog.
Has he really gone, Boney?
Does he remind you of anyone? See you next week.
Creepy, crawly, slimy things that stick onto your skin. Horrid beasts with tentacles that want to pull you in. Squirmy worms, slugs, and snails that lie there in a goo. there.